Hey everyone, welcome to the 1804 show, chapter 2. I'm your host, Dollar Will, and this is another episode of 1804 History. And before I start, hit like, comment, subscribe to the channel, the 1804 show, chapter 2. Now let's begin. So tonight, I'm going to be talking about Bobby Seale versus Huey P. Newton. I'm sorry, Dr. Huey P. Newton. And both of them are famous for starting the Black Panther Party of Self-Defense. And the craziest thing about it, no one knows about this. This was pretty much hidden and stuff like that. And I was able to find some things on YouTube and the books that I checked out for the library or whatever. And both of them wasn't on good terms. And I would say a lot of that just was betrayal, deflection, and just being harassed and being killed off, especially by their members. And it just bothers me knowing that these two started something positive and it ended so bad. And that was the objective, was to destroy the Black Panther Party by any means necessary. But first, it just took a whole bunch of illegal activity and COINTELPRO, FBI, CIA, police officers to spend all this energy, spend all this time to eliminate these two. And before Huey Newton was assassinated, they wanted to kill the group's credibility and all. So it just, you never know when you're doing something right what consequences comes with it. People love when you're doing wrong. People love when you um helping the establishment, but they hate when you're trying to stand up for something, when you're trying to change the narrative and just bring awareness to certain things, because without these two, we wouldn't have known what self empowerment, what black empowerment was. Because back in the 60s, there was so many assassinations, there was so many things that happened, riots, police brutality. People was getting killed with their hands up. It was a lot of people getting shot with their armpits in the air. And we will have no idea what our mothers and grandparents went through. So when we say like disrespectful things about we not our ancestors, that's the most disrespectful thing that you can say, because they was facing terrorism on a daily basis. While we think we got shootings, while we think we got murders, they had bodies on top of bodies. And these two young men wanted to change things, wanted their communities to be safe, because there was police officers coming and harassing people and killing people off, shooting them dead every day. So So J. Edgar Hoover found this out because he didn't think that it was going to be serious, or he thought it was a fad and this and that. He didn't think that this was going to be on a consistent basis. He thought that this was going to just die out eventually, but by the consistency of these two brothers who was able to gain membership of others and just really put out a plan, a step program for people who wanted to join, and like these people was organized. They were so organized to the point that they had free breakfast programs, they had clinics, they had clothing, they had food, they had volunteers, and they also patrolled the neighborhoods to make sure that there wasn't no cops beating up on unarmed black men, women, and children. So they really had their ish together. And then Huey found a clause or a loophole because black folks didn't know that they can bear arms, that they can carry guns too. So that's the power of reading when you can actually find loopholes. But other than that, they didn't know that they can carry guns, so they started to carry guns. And just so happened, the dude that supplied them the weapons was an informant for the FBI too. And I'm gonna talk about that later on down the road. But yeah, he was an informant, so he was selling them guns and selling them bullets half price and stuff. But before, I talk about how these two start beefing and started to become enemies. I just want to say that people can say what they want about Huey Newton becoming a crackhead or cocaine or crack cocaine user, sorry, and this and that. But this man was shot. They literally took him out of his car one night and shot him where he could have died. And not only he gets railroaded when it came to trial, but he gets convicted of the police officer who shot him. So he was pretty much defending himself because they knew who he was. And for someone who does suffer from mental illness and depression and anxiety, PTSD, we can say what we want, but he was literally arrested while he was at the hospital being operated on and being attacked, assaulted. Can you imagine having bullets inside you and you getting punched and beat on and this and that? And then you get sent to prison for a crime that you didn't commit. But I'm not making any excuses for him, but a whole lot of the members self-medicated because of the trauma and the depression and then variation of got to them because that's a lot of things to go through. But I would say like in the late 70s and stuff, um, once the government was able to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish by dismantling them and bringing drugs into the country and the neighborhoods throughout the inner cities and stuff like that. Um, Huey changed. Huey became dark. Huey got addicted to drugs and wanted to take over the drug territories. And Bobby, who also went through his share of trauma and this and that, like he wasn't on drugs, but he was looking at Huey like, what are you doing? This is not what we stand for. Like you own this and this and that. So he literally admitted that he said that he had to kill him, but he couldn't do it. He said, I will leave. I will resign. And they dismantled one of the greatest groups because the FBI succeeded. And they always succeeds with us because of the fact that even though we was together, even though it was some unity, even though it was discipline, the police will wear you out. Not just the police, but you got your family, you got kids, and these people had to um stay together. They couldn't live and go back to their regular lives because they was picked on. Their family was harassed and a whole bunch of shit. So they had no choice but to stay together. And some of them had went into exile and basically live under a rock, had to relocate, couldn't keep employment once they found out who they were. So most of them was lucky to um, get jobs and get an education and still go on with their lives peacefully. Bobby is a professor right now. He's still living. He's in his 80s. And some of the stuff that he says I can agree with the FBI didn't destroy us, it was us. Because people didn't respect leadership. People wanted to do their own thing. People wanted to have their own Black Panther Party and this and that. And I agree. Because people can't play their position. You have a job, you have a position for a reason. You can't be the captain when you're haven't had the leadership skills or you don't know what you're doing. You don't have the mindset. And people just wanted to do their own thing. And we just, as a people, think that, oh, one man can save the world, but it takes all of us to be able to change things. Because if we don't, then it would be over. It would be hell, chaos, havoc. And, and Huey just wasn't the same. Excuse me. So he was able later on to get more into um, politics and doing things in the community, but he just couldn't shake the habit. He couldn't shake the drugs. And the night of his death, well, early morning of his death, August 22nd, 1989, he was murdered at 4 in the morning, making his homicide 97th homicide of the year. And they were saying that he was robbing local drug dealers and taking their drugs. And one um, person allegedly shot him twice in the alley. Mm. And it's crazy because like um I don't believe that happened. They always want to trying to make us kill our leaders. Not saying that it doesn't happen, but I'm just saying that he got off for killing a cop and this and that. So we really have to be open-minded that everything we read isn't the truth. But he was taken down, and Bobby Seale's still alive. He still go across the country doing speaking engagements. He's in his 80s. He's retired, but also tells the stories, wrote books, did documentaries on the demise of the Black Panther Party. But I would say that the Black Panther Party to me was the awakening. It taught us self-love, it taught us pride, it taught us dedication, leadership, discipline, education, and they did a lot for the community. They did a lot for the youth. And if it wasn't for them, we won't have no WIC program. And we have to give credit when credit is due. Despite saying that this was the number one threat in American society, they never killed nobody. They only dealt with and tolerated snitches, rats, people who was informants. They beat them up and tortured them and this and that, but they ain't ever killed no innocent people. But it just be a lot of rhetoric and propaganda, you know, and it's just crazy to me how people can pick and choose when they criminals. They was killing everybody, They didn't care if you was a man, woman, or a child. They would shoot you dead. If you was even associated or you even look like a panther, they killed you. But, we just so caught up in these so-called American values, but we was getting beat down, we was getting hurt, we was getting imprisoned for practicing our constitutional rights. And nobody was ever held accountable for that, for the mistreatment of us and just going through what we went through as a collective. So we just have to keep in mind of who are the real criminals. And these two brothers right here, man, really wanted to help the community. They weren't talkers, they was doers. They did what they were supposed to do, regardless of what happened in the future or down the road. You won't know what to do unless you was put in that position. If you was put in their shoes, it was the late 60s, 70s. I mean, it just would be a lot of accusations and assumptions about what the Black Panther Party represented, but they represented peace and defense, defending yourself, and just becoming better as one and being a family. So, but yeah, I just, wanted to come back on here and because I miss you guys. I miss working, I miss doing this. So be looking out for more episodes this week. I got some interviews to do, and I must get back into it. And again, it just feels good to be able to do what I do. I just want to thank all my supporters, want to thank everyone who follows me, who subscribe to me, the ones who take time out to watch the content, watch the videos. Y'all the real MVPs, and I appreciate y'all. And remember, hit that like button for future notifications. Hit that bell, and please subscribe to the channel, the 1804 Show Chapter 2, and I'm out. Have a good night. Peace.